Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Phillips. I'm an assistant head teacher here at Orleans Park School with an oversight of assessment and monitoring. What I'd like to do today is talk you through some of the changes that we are making to Key Stage 4 reporting. So that's Year 10 and Year 11. We're starting with Year 10, first year that's rolling out the new changes. What I'll do is I'll share the screen and show you some examples of the two reports you'll get in Year 10. So the November report and the July report, and we'll talk through the changes while we're looking at them. So let me share my screen. Okay, so this is an example of the November report that families receive around about the week of the 20th of November, something like this. So there'll be a photograph in the top right-hand corner as normal, student details, so name, tutor, number of house points, attendance data, etc. The names of the subjects and teacher names are unchanged. The first thing you'll notice that's different, just make this a bit bigger. So instead of an aspirational grade, you'll now see that there is an FFT5 target. So FFFT stands, or FFT even, stands for Fisher Family Trust. This is a nationally recognized body that set targets for tens of thousands of schools across the United Kingdom. And what they do is they use the SATs data collected from Year 6, they put it into their algorithm, they use data from students who have gone through with similar entrance grades, so similar Year 6 SAT results, and they track the progress that those students make through their GCSE years. And using these hundreds of thousands of data points, they then apply it to an algorithm which generates a target. And Fisher Family Trust make several different levels of targets. They have a 5, they have a 20, they have a 5, a 10, a 20, and a 50. Now, what that refers to is we use FFT5, and that means that we're using the most challenging or aspirational targets. So the top 5% of similar students, the progress that they are making over their GCSE years, that is the data that we use to generate targets. So similar students with similar incoming SAT scores, the top 5% of progress made by those students, so the highest level of progress, using that as a benchmark, we generate targets for our students. Now, this is quite challenging. It's meant to be a challenging target, and that's deliberate. We're in an outstanding school. We're in a fantastic area. We are challenging our students and ourselves to make the top level of progress. And it does mean that some students will not make that progress. That's not feasible. It's not likely for all students to make that top level of progress. So for some students, these will be very, very high and very, very challenging. For other students, they will remain challenging, but they are attainable. Not all students are expected to make that level of progress. They are expected to be challenged though. So what we'll see for this student, this is how we interpret this report. So for this student, you can see they've got FFT5 targets of 8 or 9. Now that would indicate that this student has done particularly well in their Year 6 SATs. And yes, they use English and Maths, they sit English and Maths SATs. And you might wonder, how can we generate targets for not for philosophy, for history or for German based on Maths and English SAT results? So it's a good question. What they do is they have looked at how students who come in with similar SAT scores, how they track across those subjects. So German, how do students who came in with a SAT score of 112 for English and 110 for Maths, how many thousands of students with that data entry point, what was their outcome? So they can use this data to then generate a target, which is really accurate for subjects that are not Maths or English. So they are applicable to creative subjects as well as the more traditional academic leaning subjects like your Maths, your English, your science, etc. So this student has a particularly high number of FFT5 targets, all 8s and 9s. So that student obviously would be expecting to make or to achieve really high scores as they go through their GCSE years. The attitude to learning grades remain unchanged. I'm not going to discuss those here. You've had those for many years. We look at another example of the same the same reporting points. So again, this is a November report. You'll notice this student has got a different suite of subjects, And their FF5 targets are, not as high. So we're looking here at a student whose targets are between a 4 and a 6. So this would indicate this would be a student whose SAT scores were not as high as their predecessor. So they therefore have still, for this student, these are still going to be, for students who came in with their SAT scores, the top 5% of progress made by students with those similar scores, they achieve these grades. And that's the challenge that we are placing on this student, or all of our students, as well as ourselves. So the attitude to learning grades for this student indicate perhaps this is a student who is not working as well in the class. We've got some requires improvements here. We've got some serious concerns in PSHE. So this would indicate that there is some intervention to be had with the student, either behaviourally, talking with the family, etc. So that is, excuse me, that is our November report. There's no progress measure at this point, as students have not been in these subjects for long enough to make an accurate judgment on their progress at this point. So for example, this student might have only taken media studies since September in their year 10 year. So that gives us only really 2 months before the data is collected. And it's not enough time to make an accurate judgment on student progress.